Awesome.
How you doing?
Good, mate. Good. You've just linked me a document. That is the same one that I already had open, I believe. Yes, it is. It is good.
Probably, yeah.
Lovely
I've
formatting.
Just formatted it.
Yeah, very nice. I always like that. It means you've actually looked at it since the last time. Some people obsessively looking at it. Some people never looking at the notes ever again, and then not, man, I really can't do X and Y, and I'm like, but you didn't do the things in the notes. And they go, what notes?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, we don't need to be doing another coaching session yet. I don't want to waste your money. But so good to see you've been progressing. I'm keen to talk about this 12 pool later. I've been doing a little bit of it. I'm nowhere near as good at understanding it as Lambo. It takes a lot of muscle memory and practice. And, I loved like that video with like Australia's little pylon response out front the wall.
That was
cool,
very
man.
cool.
I hope I never have to play against someone who does that, or is good enough to pull that off without screwing it up. One little shout out before we start. Sorry, a big thank you to Fenrak. Dropped a cheer and Eon D with the sub. Thank you guys. I'm now going to ignore Twitch chat for the next hour.
My bits. Anyway, here is the rest I got. Enjoy the stream.
And the text-to-speech cuts off. Thank you very much, Bob. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Awesome. So let's get straight into some replays, shall we? And look at these ZVTs, I think.
I do have just at the very bottom of the document, there's a couple of quick questions. I know we spent a ton of time on that last time, all these little questions I had. These ones should be pretty quick.
Let's get a replay open first of all.
For sure.
I can process that while we're answering the questions. I am in chat channel Piggy, P-I-G-G-Y.
Oops, sorry. I did the wrong thing. Invite.
Oh, there we are. Beautiful.
And I'll give you the lead.
Trying to be as time efficient as possible as always. And do we want to write all the notes at the bottom or at the top for today? I guess I can just answer the questions.
It doesn't matter. I'll format it.
Okay. Awesome. I like to put it at the top.
Can you give me back to leader for a sec so I can open the replay?
Oh, you made me the leader, Norris. You gave me the crown. All good, man.
I know you like that.
I like to feel important. I like meaningless titles that make me feel special. Make me the lobby host, and I can steer that replay. And questions for next session. I'm going to leave those at the bottom, but I'll copy paste them at the top just so we can answer them here. Actually, no, we don't need to do that. I'll just leave them where they are. Why double up on it? I don't need to cause you more editing. I'll just answer in bold with each question below what we talk about.
Honestly, I watched the video on YouTube afterwards anyway, so you don't even have to write anything. I'm going to watch the video. So.
Oh, cool. Okay. How do you spread first tumor? Death Aura, is it placed straight out the natural or sideways towards the parallel? I always put it kind of in the middle, but maybe a little closer towards the third direction. And then it spreads basically as, pretty much as much towards the third as possible. Maybe a little out front as well. But it kind of depends on the map a little bit, right? So as we get into Lightshade here, it might, you can't just go 45 degrees out up to the left because obviously it's you do need to connect it at some point to the third. But you could kind of go, if we do it in the middle here, we could go doof. And sorry, do you have the stream open, by the way? Just in case there's anything I want to show pixel perfect, it's easier on the stream rather than signaling. So is it showing for you, the stream? Let me know if you get an ad or anything like that.
No, I had it open already. I was awesome. I was watching you before. I'm a bit of a hardware nerd, so the computer was interesting.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited to get the new upgrade and everything, and finally I keep Dot's been using my old gaming laptop and to edit videos on, and I come in there and I'm like, is there a jet turbine going? What's going on? And it's oh no, it's just a laptop trying to render videos. Okay, yeah. This is the worst noise in the world. I'm the thing's gonna melt down. But anyways, tumor here. Spread probably
the reason I asked this is I watched a Panda Bear Me video and he was talking about this. And he was on certain maps. I think this one as well. If you go directly left instead of out, then it reaches the third a lot quicker.
Oh, if you take this third, then you would want to go straight left for sure. Yeah. Because your northern direction isn't as important. I mean, it doesn't really matter, to be honest, because you want to go both directions anyway. But you're going to take this bottom base, right, with your fourth.
Yeah.
So your number one priority is creep down. Yeah, out here through these two high grounds. That is, if you can even break down all these rocks in the middle and get the creep up on both those high grounds, you know, that's the most important part, because for them to push on the other side, even if there's a massive indent in your creep, you've got no creep. Like, go look at a Ragnarok game. Jesus Christ, like the best Zerg versus Terran player in the world with no creep spread. And it's because he's on the back foot the whole time. Like, he's always having to make comebacks. He does a great job of getting to ultras and surviving, and then attacking, you know, 100 banelings off creep and losing the game. I hate Ragnarok, by the way, in ZvT. There's so many things we can learn from him, and so many throws that he makes. So some nuggets of wisdom in what he does, though. But yeah, basically, you could have no creep here. Look at how much further he's going to have to push to get here into your natural. To actually get in range of a hatchery and drones, he's coming through so many wide open areas, so far away. Whereas if he takes this third on the bottom, for instance, or fourth, the push towards through this bottom side, it's like, it's just a bit easier for him and scarier. And that's also your third and fourth are in the same location, which means if they get in between those, you know, Cyril versus Clem, you lose both bases. You got to leave the game, even though I think Cyril left that one a bit early. But if they get in between these two bases, it's like you're just kind of screwed. So yeah, I don't think it really matters too much. Super minor optimization stuff, but yeah, I think the way you did it here seems completely fine. That looks good.
Cool.
What do you do with the queen spawn at hatchery that already has an injecting queen? Do you go right to creep spreading or use no energy and save for transfuse? Is this like from the very third queen that pops out, or the queens after that?
Just any queen after you have the 3 there. Like, basically, cool. I guess a better question is, how many active tumors do you want to have?
How many active tumors?
Or, I mean, like, is it just a matter of, like, if you need it there, fill it in? And
do you make a safety baneling nest normally?
No.
Okay, so you're playing a greedier style. So this is actually really greedy what you're doing here. So if you're not making a safety baneling nest, you need to be making like 9 or 10 queens, and transfuse is going to be a key part of any defense for Hellbats. What you're doing here, as long as your opponent doesn't hit you with a Hellbat timing, it's like probably pretty fine. I mean,
yeah, this is basically what we talked about last time. Is I don't know if I do it perfectly here, but like basically queens and lings for the first push, and the gas order is upgrades and then layer and then bane nest.
Yeah. If you're doing it that way, you really want to go like at least 9 queens. So let's just say 9 to 10 queens is standard. And you can see like in this game, you've got the money. So normally about 2 base saturation just after that, you've put back on gas. You've got 2 bases saturated, about 340. So you start building non-stop queens from here. Now you actually started your queens even earlier than that. So you started your queen production too early this game. And that's probably slowed down your droning a little bit. Okay. Because you've spent that money on that so early. So if we go back here, did we miss an inject timer? Or is it just that because we went tumor? No, tumor first shouldn't change that. You went for a very standard hatchery timing.
I think.
Third queen builds in the main. You start a very early 4th queen. We don't have any lava at all. That kind of perplexes me. Let me take a little glance here. Sorry, I got to double check the tiny details of this opening now. I'm like, something is different. I don't know what it is, but it feels like you should have had a few more lava there. So let me just check what's up. So we've gone 16 hatch, very standard, up to 18 gas, 17 pool by the looks of it. Yep, rally that guy for that one, that guy for that one. Perfect opening so far. I mean, this looks all good. So I could just, you know, maybe my timing sense is a little off. We'll see. 4 lings, very standard. We start ling speed. We fully pull off gas. We're droning. We haven't sent a drone out to the 3rd ahead of time. So if a Reaper comes, it could have probably...
So this is something we talked about last time. You suggested that I send the first drone from the natural there.
Yeah.
For 32 hatch. And that, it works very nicely. I've worked into the build and I'm good with that. But originally I was sending one earlier. But this was...
Oh, I think I meant the first drone that arrives at the natural.
Oh, okay.
You could send this drone. It's just if this gets blocked, you need to build a 3rd queen and then overload. As long as the system works for you and you're consistent, it really doesn't matter. Because even if a base gets blocked, you just take the other one. It doesn't change that much, the other hatch. Or you send your lings across the map and the Reaper has to chase them home, and then then you can take it. But yeah, you could send it earlier. Let's go look at our notes from the last time so we understand exactly what I was miscommunicating to you, or if I had a logical reason that I've forgotten. First drone from natural goes to become third. Interesting. If you've worked that in, I think that's okay. It's just the Reaper would literally be arriving at this moment, right? So have you had trouble with that blocking it?
No, at my level so far, I've not had any trouble with that. So I feel like I'm okay to continue doing this for now. But yeah, I'm definitely aware that that's when the Reaper should be coming. I was a little slow with the Zergs here, but usually I escort the drone down there. I know that doesn't really stop it from getting sniped, but I'm aware of that at least.
They might mess their micro up. Well, I'm just putting it into your build note next to that one where you've already got the tick and everything. I just said, look, in bold, probably send your first drone mining at natural down. You're like, 20th, 21st drone, something like that. So if we just look at where that times out, for me, I'll send it way ahead of time just to make sure I don't forget often.
Yeah.
So like this
and
drone
just hide
here,
it.
yeah, like this drone here, I'll be like, whatever. I'll just click it down there now. It can just go stand next to the gas. And if a Reaper finds it, it just jumps on the gas. And if the Reaper stays there, that's fine. Send your lings across the map to go kill the Marine and the SCV building the command center. And Reaper should go home. You can cancel the gas and rebuild it once or twice. And you should be good.
Cool.
So looking at the opening again, let's check. Inject immediately on the main. Creep immediately on the natural. Third queen starts up in the main, interestingly, rather than the natural expand. We've got drones. We've got an overlord on the way, nice and early. We've got drones, drones, drones. Okay, we're injecting the main, injecting the natural. Okay, so we're pretty slow to get our second tumor going, but because you're on point with that first tumor, I don't mind at all. That's totally fine because you're like, getting the first couple tumors out nice and fast. We're hitting non-stop queen production, which is, sorry, continue.
So about that creep tumor, you would do inject creep tumor twice the first 2 cycles?
Oh no, I would go creep tumor, and then depending on the timing of the third queen, which I would always build on the natural, so it pops out there sooner, I would either go double tumor straight away or tumor inject and then let that guy spread creep. Either way, because the queen pops out of the natural, the second tumor gets down a little faster. I don't want you to change this. This is so fucking minute. Like, this does not matter at all, mate. This does not matter. This is just me understanding why your build's a little different to mine.
Okay.
And yeah, no, it looks okay. Okay, so we built a lot of early safety lings. So this is just very safe at this point. And that's totally fine. If that gives you the freedom to drone your third, that's all good. Now, this, though, is where, like, a bit of scouting can be really nice. So we did send our Overlord in pretty late, right? So check this out. So your Overlord went to the pillar because he damaged it with a Marine earlier. So you send it in. So if we'd sent this Overlord in a little earlier, this is why if I'm going to Overlord sacrifice, I do always like to come from the right just to make sure it can't get shot by Marines. And, like, it's always going to get over that central production space, right? Right in there. And I like to, So if I haven't seen any Hellions, I would try to skip the Zerglings. That's an advanced step. But
yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm not ready for that yet. I also have, I don't know if I do it this time, but my intent is just kind of always to have spore crawlers because I feel like I'm not ready to be that reactive yet. So I don't think they came at me at all until like 6:30 or something. So in hindsight, obviously those Zerglings are not needed, but I'm not really quite ready to start being that reactive.
The thing is, what if your opponent's doing a double barracks build? There's no Hellions at all. So that there's a few extreme examples where there's really obvious tells. If you're like, oh, he's got 6 Hellions, but they haven't left the base, just build the Zerglings, right? They can get over there in no time, right? Because what if he does run over, you're like, I don't have lava right now. But if we see a bunker, that already is a massive sign of safety. That's like, wait, what? Why has he got a bunker if he's building Hellions? Number 2, a siege tank. So if we had a siege tank in a bunker, we don't need any Zerglings, really. Okay. Likewise, if we don't see any factory on a reactor, we only see Marines, we don't need any Zerglings, right? So those are the 2 kind of tells that we'd be wanting to look at there to... And I'm going to write this up the top, and then I'm going to finish answering your questions before we get too deep in this replay. OV Scout. So Overlord Scout. So what do we spot? Tank plus bunker equals no aggro coming, no lings needed. You could probably usually skip your spores entirely in this scenario as well, which you do end up doing this game. And you do see a starport with no add-on that's incredibly late. So I don't know if that was a conscious decision in this game, but it was a good one with the scouting that you ended up having.
I don't quite remember.
Let's hope that it was.
We'll assume it is.
Yep. So racks on reactor. No reactor Hellion. That also equals no aggro coming, no lings needed. Now there is a build. I don't know how much this has made its way into the non very tip top pro gamer, where they could still do like a little marine mine drop and then run 3 Hellions in that have just built one at a time off the factory. But that's its own specific thing. In general, you still don't need many Zerglings for that. So the whole point here is your opponent is doing the most turtley build of all time. He's building a few Marines and a bunker, a tank, and then a quick third command center, very quick third command center. So this is just a super defensive, I'm going to sit in my corner and not die. So basically, if we had 8 more drones instead of those Zerglings already going on that third, and it was 11 drones saturated on that third mineral line, we can see, oh, cool. Is this your standard? No. But we never, ever, there is no level at which it is too early to start thinking about reactions to our opponent. Is this something you're thinking about every game? No. Is this something you can train yourself to identify? Oh, yeah. Tank bunker? Skip the lings. Barracks on the reactor?
Okay.
Skip the lings. Okay? And you can learn more other tells of players that are basic. He's got 4 command centers for some reason. There's all sorts of different tells. But for now, it's like we've just built lings unnecessarily. Is that going to lose us this game? Not at all. Not at all. It's just an edge. We should be aware of it, because otherwise, if you're not thinking about that stuff, you might lose 5 minutes from now and be like, man, this guy just had so much stuff. Terran's so unfair. And it's like, wait a second. Why? Imagine if you built spore crawlers now as well. Right? It was like we're building spores and lings and a baneling nest or something. And it's like, wait, this guy can't do anything to us. He's just going super economic. No wonder we're not getting the best start possible, and we're going to struggle a bit later on because he's going to have such a big army compared to us potentially, depending on how the macro goes in the next few minutes. So I think that's really useful to think about.
Cool.
So you said you're injecting too quickly in the early game and it caused you to lose lava. So do you mean like you go and you think you've done it, but like it actually hasn't gone on it because they don't have the energy?
It's something very, very specific that I've discovered because I've been practicing a lot, figuring out my build. And obviously, we know a hatchery will stop producing larvae when it has 3. And so even if that hatchery's larva is just about to pop, if the inject pop first, you lose that larva. So I noticed a couple times the inject after you fill the gas, if I was too quick about it, then I would only have 6 larvae when I was really expecting 7 at a very specific point where I make an overlord and then those Zerglings. Basically the safety Zerglings, I also make an overlord before them. So I'm expecting 7 larvae, but very often I would only have 6. This is not really, I don't know if this is something you've ever experienced or something that is really, it's not really a question. It's just an observation.
So, I mean, the eye to detail there is impressive, but that's really not a problem. That's so minute, number one. But number 2, because remember, you do have to be more flexible as a player. You can't just be, because there's going to be so many things that it's rather than obsessing over one lava in a game where nothing's happening, it's much more important for you to be able to flow with multiple things happening, right?
Yeah, so definitely. I figured out the first 6 minutes basically of a perfect macro, and I know this is never ever going to happen. It usually like I'm only going to get maybe 2 minutes into this before something happens or I have to divert. So I'm aware of that, but it was just something that I noticed, and it was kind of frustrating. Like I thought the game was bugged or something when I first discovered this. Anyways, just an observation.
That's why spending your lava is very important. So look, the thing is, generally though, you should be tapping and spending your lava as much as possible. So if you've got 3 lava sitting there, it's like if there's nothing, in between your actions, just tapping your production.
No, definitely. It's
cycles.
Like,
that solves
what
that.
happens is you get the 3, but you should have had 1 and then the inject pop. But the inject pops too soon, so the natural larva doesn't happen. So
so you're talking about the first lava popping on the hatchery?
Not the very first one. It doesn't really matter. We don't really have to go into it too much.
It does not matter. It's so minute. Yeah. Like it'll change 1 unit for a few seconds. A lava pops every
11, I think.
I'm like, I know Heart of the Swarm seconds. I don't know the conversion. I forget the conversion, but yeah. Thank God they fixed Blizzard time. It's just a shame that so much of the StarCraft information is stuck in a literally not human time setting. But yeah. So just tapping your production, as long as you're already doing that, don't worry about it at all. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Get rid of the assumption that I know what to do. I need to rehearse every situation. Yeah, but also you want general rules.
For sure.
General rules, general plays. Yep.
Yeah. I heard you say this in another coaching session maybe like a week ago. And I feel like I need like a starting spot before I can start being reactive, right? So that was kind of more what I went. So in particular, you were coaching a Zerg when they were getting early pooled.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just something that kind of, I guess, resonated with me a little bit for some of those situations. Like when I'm in control, I don't really feel stressed about stuff. But when I get hit with something I don't know what to do, then it's hard to be reactive when I don't even know the first reaction, right?
Absolutely. Well, the number of people I see who take so much damage to a Liberator and they'll go, I shouldn't have taken that damage to a Liberator. What I'm getting at there is like, well, what is the exact response? And people would just be very, very lazy about it. And they'll be like, well, I should have just, I should have fucking killed it with the queens. And I'm like, is that what you do? Like, go watch frame by frame when Cyril deals with a Liberator, or even when Joe Blow Diamond player, Platinum player, Gold player, Silver player deals with a Liberator. There is a lot of actions that happen there. It's not just kill it with your queens. It's not. I always give this example because the Liberator is the most fucked up response. It's the most basic common thing which players constantly like just fall down the stairs. It's the Eddie Murphy talking about his auntie falling down the steps. Oh God, Jesus, blah, 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 and she's just like breaking her hip and shit. That's like every player, and then they get up at the bottom and they go, "Yeah, probably shouldn't have fallen down the fucking steps." Hey, and then the next day they do it again, and I'm like, "What are we doing here?" So Liberator comes in the main. You've just with a hard situation like that, it's like pull drones, grab queen, shift click around, build spore crawler and other base, grab queen in natural move to edge, anticipating Liberator, rotate, send drones back to mining, continue macro because I've just been distracted for 15 seconds straight, do a macro cycle, Like that's a lot. That's a lot of things. And it took me mentally focusing on it and almost rehearsing that as a mini set play. So that's definitely something there. But yeah, as long as every time you're lost, anytime you freeze up, you've got to go, oh, I froze up. I felt lost in that moment. Those are the most powerful moments. Anytime those are the most powerful ways to steer your learning. Anytime you see an enemy unit or strategy that just tilts, fuck, it's something that makes you angry or irrational. That's okay, awesome. We need to stare at that in a replay a few times and focus on it and understand it and map out a response or something to it. Okay. Same thing with any time you just stare at the game and you feel paralyzed, mouse and keyboard, don't know what the hell you're supposed to do for a moment. Everyone has those moments in a game where you just, what do I do here? Those are the most powerful things to improve. But so were you thinking like, get rid of the assumption that I know what to do, need to rehearse every situation. So you wanted to map things out a little bit more. I guess like was there any specific situation that made you think of that? Was it like you freezing up in the mid game or what?
Not right now. It was just kind of a general thing that I heard you say and kind of resonated with me a little bit. So yeah, that it was just a little note kind of for myself, and I guess for maybe potentially how we might go forward with some things. If it's like I don't know what to do here, then I would be probably more comfortable just having one response until I'm very comfortable with that one response, right?
Right, like the early pool thing I see you wrote. That was from yesterday's coaching, right? With the
it may have been, yeah, and that's kind of why I just am always making the early Zerglings right now. Like in this example, we can see it probably wasn't needed, but for right now, I was kind of just like, this is my build. I'm trying to master my build before I can.
Yeah,
I got to learn the rules before I can break them, right?
For sure. Which is a good approach. Down the track, I want you to do what I talked about. You see, scouting tells, super safe turn, switch gears, skip XYZ, 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 whatever you want to say. But the thing is, it's important to, as long as we keep some measure of flexibility, as you get better at the build, you do that, right? The early pool thing, very intense situation, very hard situation. Giving ourselves one response in that hard situation simplifies things, because in that scenario, the other response, what was important about that coaching is, what are you going to look at your overlord and check their hatchery timing while microing drone zergling against zergling on your natural? No, you're not going to do that. Like I know you're not going to do that because pro gamers consistently fuck it up. So it's understanding that that's such a hard situation. So if there's already a hard situation, doing reactions on top of that in the midst of that, not going to work, right? And that's kind of what you're getting at as well. Well, I'm trying to get my injects down. I'm trying to get my creep tumors down in the opening. I can't be staring too much. Should I build my links? Should I not? And then the Hellions are in my mineral land because I dilly-dallied and it froze up. So, it gives you that ability to chill a little bit. So I like that. I like that thought process. So let's go through this game now. First things first, feeling in ZvT. I know you said you were working on it. You're getting more games. I mean, what's going wrong in your games? What are the biggest areas we need to focus on for improvement here in your Zerg versus Terran?
I think probably engagements. And I looked at this replay just before, and it felt pretty good, actually. It was at the end of a longer night, and I'll be honest, I've been practicing for like 2 weeks, and I kind of have not been losing right now. So hopefully, I'm sure we can still find a lot of stuff that goes wrong, but I feel like the games go really well for me. And there isn't really much that I'm struggling with other than, I would say, engagements. But yeah, I'm like not losing right now. It's nice, obviously, but it's a little frustrating because sometimes I feel like I'm not challenged in the game. So I feel like I just have to play more.
Yeah, you got to kill bitches.
Maybe I'm just on an upswing. Who knows?
You got to kill bitches to level up. I mean, the thing is, you're building way more stuff than your opponent. So let's go back and look at the macro side of things first. You had a nice opening, and then you did freeze up really hard for a minute there.
Yeah, about 5 or 6 minutes, I just stopped spending.
Yeah. So check this out. It's important to identify those problem points and analyze them. So first things first, we're going to do a single inject on our third. Naughty, naughty. Naughty, naughty. So let's see how this happens. Anytime we break from the macro. Okay, we did inject, main natural. We didn't do the third because it's about to finish. Okay, I see what happens. And then we do that inject. Do we? Yeah, just a little bit late, but that's fine because it was off time or whatever. It'll sync up later, hopefully.
Yeah, those definitely are split up a little bit in my perfect version of the build.
So looking at the way you're playing right now, you've got 2 queens on your defense key, and they're just walking out. Now, if there were already Hellions at your doorstep, I imagine these injecting queens would be on your defense key as well, right? At your natural and your third?
Yeah.
Because they'd be kind of up front skirmishing with Hellions. Like, you're getting a very... he's giving you breathing room. You're allowed to just sit there injecting and have a real chill setup. I would advise your overlords to be a little further out, so we don't actually have a lot of warning of Hellions coming in. If there's a Viking, we can pull them back, but as long as there's not, right now, you've got a lot of overlords in a lot of positions. It's not completely optimal. So this overlord on the left, I would very quickly have pushed out to here, something like that, maybe here, just so it can see coming down the ramp, coming down here, a lot further away, right? Ideally, I might even, if they're rotating around a lot, I might even push it out here and then have one down here as well. So if I can get up an overlord there, an overlord there, an overlord up here, and then one here, that would be really nice. Because just looking at the shadows, they can come in pretty deep before you see them. This overlord up here, unnecessary. Why don't I like this overlord? Because they can just go past on the right and get in the back of your natural. You won't see it. You've already got another overlord that's going up to kind of fill that hole. So why do we need one out there? I know we're addicted to these pillars, but there is just no reason to need those pillars. It's Viking, it's Phoenix, it's a Stalkers and Marines don't have a business being on the map this early. So try to just have a little bit more Hellion coverage, because in a game where they're active with Hellions, every second of extra info on where they are is going to make your life much easier and kind of help you avoid disaster. So small thing, but does make a difference.
No, definitely. That's something that I know is not perfect for me right now, overload coverage. I sometimes will practice my build like on one map a little too much. So on Death Aura, I'm sure my overload coverage is a little better. But I am, when you said like, okay, the first one goes here, second one goes here, third, fourth, basically the first 6, I believe, are kind of the main part of the overload coverage. So I'm trying to be more conscious of that. but I just have to really refine it on each map. And I think I probably could push them out a little bit more. That's a good point.
Yeah, push them out a bit more. I mean, I actually shuffle mine forward as my creep gets out a little, but you don't need to be too. Obviously, it's APM. It's how many actions you have and stuff. But you could just start with them a bit further out in general. The big avenue on the bottom leading into your main, that makes me like, we've got 3 overlords doing 1 overlord's job in the top right of this map, and we've got no overlords covering the bottom left. So our main 2 banshees could fly in at any point, liberate or anything. We wouldn't see it till it sieges our mineral line. So just a little sloppy there. But other than that, that's a small general thing. Why do we freeze up at 5 minutes? What goes on here? Because we're droning. We've got our lings. We're looking so good. We've done an overlord scout. We've seen a 3rd command center. So let's watch. At this point, what should you be doing? In theory, just looking at this setup, not knowing what happens in this replay, what should your priorities be in this game if you were to take control right now?
I guess refilling the mineral lines on the 3 bases, getting a 4th down, and then some form of...
Sorry, refilling the mineral lines?
Yeah, so I think the main and 3rd... Oh, at this
exact moment in the replay.
Let me pull it up in StarCraft so I don't have to delay.
Yeah, it's easier to see, but 4 minutes 50. I mean, there shouldn't be any delay on the stream, but... it'd be like 10 seconds or something. It depends. Who knows how the servers are playing up. You never know. So it's 4 minutes 50 when we begin to slow down. When we slow down, that's what we want to do. So what should we focus on?
Should already have 2 Evo bays down. I'm a little late on that. And then I would want to fill the gases or put down the extractors. Yeah, that would be, I know I'm late on my tack, but I would want to have 2 Evo chambers down by now.
I wouldn't consider you to be late at all. If you were in GM, I might be like, oh yeah, if we're going double Evo, we technically could have started that a few seconds ago. You're not in GM. So
I'm not.
You can't be picture perfect on this. What is more important is your fundamentals. It's at this point where you start trying to play to a higher level than you are. So watch what happens now. Because you are going to take very quick gases and Evos. You do this, but you immediately fall apart on your basic macro cycles here. Check this out. So let's watch what happens. Macro cycle finishes in terms of injects. We've just done gas, 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 Evo. You did that really quick and started the left. Beautiful. But hey, lava just popped. We haven't spent it. And it looks like we'd queued up extra injects before that. Interesting. Why have we got extra injects already queued? Did we miss the previous cycle?
No, I think this is just a problem where I have sometimes I'm trying to inject too often. And then if there's another queen there that I haven't sent away yet, it will inject, halfway through the one that's already happening.
Let's see what happens. Let's keep an eye on it then. Because if that happens occasionally, it's not a big deal. It's just, why weren't we spending our lava? Because we seem to lose track of where we were in the macro. So that's what you happen to do there. You were like, it wasn't, oh no, there's an extra inject queued. It was, for some reason we didn't. Yeah, okay. So you go around and you queue extra injects here on some of your hatcheries. Fair enough. So we've still got to spend our money. So you see you've got 12 lava hanging out right now. So you've just built your gases, your Evos, your layer. You do this really quick. This is really well trained. Awesome. And now we go to spread creep. That's the part I don't like, because I'm like, well, that's kind of lower priority. And it's like, if you've got lava sitting there on the table, that's got to be more important. Okay, so we spread some more creep. Now we're splitting Zerglings across the map. So we're doing everything as if we just did a macro cycle when we didn't. That's all. But let's see how long it takes us to remember to go back to the macro cycle is the important thing. I think it's not going to be till we inject again, because you normally attach that so well in a pretty tight macro cycle. Mm-hmm. Whoa, what just happened there? Did we just inject one hatchery? Okay, so we inject. We did inject very quickly there. I was on so fast forward I barely caught it. So nice crisp injects. Bam, bam, bam. We're going to build 3 drones, click on the gas, and then spend the rest of our... No, why are we making upgrades right now? Bad. So we started the melee upgrade in a carapace. We still haven't spent all that lava. We've got 18 lava. Now we're building drones, but we're manually rallying. Bad habit there. I mean, it's not the worst because you're putting guys on gas, so I see why you're doing it. But you could see that we've still got 12 lava. So you froze up. There's a lot to do. This is the hardest point of this build order. And you froze up at it a little bit on your production. Build the drones first and then drag them onto the gases. Don't be freezing yourself up. And more importantly, spend the money as soon as the overlords pop. That's it. So more importantly, keep droning. That's actually the biggest thing you're missing here. You missed that up. And you've got to do that before the gases. So many people go, I'm saturated. It's time to take gases and evos and baneling nest and hatcheries. And yeah, that's all true. But it doesn't change your macro cycle. This is a very common thing. What you're doing here, everybody does with this build. When they're like, but I've got 16 drones on each bit. No. You need so many drones. We want every mineral line to be oversaturated while we're taking our gases, preferably, because we're about to dump so many onto gas. Look at your mineral income right now. You know, all your mineral lines are so undersaturated right now. We could have easily been at 60 drones, 65 drones here for sure if we just kept droning. Because remember, you've lost lava production during this as well because you've been sitting on lava. So this is just one of those things where all it is when you start putting down your tech, squeeze that in right after a macro cycle. So squeeze buildings in after a macro cycle. Evos, gases, start resetting rally points or manually rallying drones, whichever technique you want to use. You know, for me, I do the resetting of the rally point. I noticed you're trying to manually rally. I'm not sure. Do you ever reset the rally points on the hatcheries, or are you always fully manual like this?
No, this was definitely a poor performance on that part. That is something we talked about last time, and I am trying to get in the habit of resetting them. And it would be around this time. Yeah.
Because this is a little bit of disorganization where perfect early game into things fall behind a little, right? Imagine if there was Hellions or a Banshee running around or a battle cruiser or something rocked up. Right, we're already with no distraction. We're floating 1,800 minerals. So this is really powerful because this tells us, okay, number one, if we go, oh, it's time for evos, I'm late. Stop yourself, go do a macro cycle, then do all that because it's going to keep you very busy, right? 2 evos, gases, lair. But keep droning first of all. Squeeze buildings in after a macro cycle. Reset rally points to each hatchery so the drones automatically are where they need to be. And we want those extra hatcheries, which you take forever to get. So you start a 4th base. So right after, along with the 2 gases, the lair, the evos, it should also be, where's our baneling nest? We never got a baneling nest this game. We completely forgot it.
Yeah, it's very late.
So it should be lair plus baneling nest, shouldn't it? At the same time.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do in the build. I just forgot it this time, I guess.
And then it should be 3 to 4 hatcheries. Now, I know that sounds kind of like a joke, but maybe it's just take a 4th base and a macro hatch for you is what you like. Some people like me, I like to always go 4th and 5th base so that if I lose one, you know, I can rotate drones to the other. And then I'll drop 1 or 2 macro hatches later if I'm doing a very heavy Ling Bane play. That's kind of dependent on how the game's going. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, this game's just scrappy. I'm killing his SCVs. He's killing my drones. I'm missing injects. Shit's going chaotic. I got 1,000 minerals. Drop 2 macro hatcheries. You know, just do it. Because look at how much money you've got. Anytime at the end of a macro cycle, if you're floating over 1,000 minerals, it's like just drop 2 macro hatcheries. Just do it. So let's start with 2 hatcheries as part of the build. And then, and because you had the money for it as well, right? Right, pretty early because you've done a good job of early saturating. So we could have gone, if we visualize it, gases, evos, lair. We've got enough money for 2 hatcheries as well. Now, obviously, we should have been droning, so we shouldn't have actually had enough money for the hatcheries. Maybe about 5:30, 6 minutes, 6:30, depending on what's going on in the game. Then we drop the 2 hatcheries. But it's just after taking all the gases and stuff. I actually, depending on how what my opponent's doing, if I feel they're not going to be too aggressive, I will often go the hatcheries even before the gases and the evos, just because I love that mass ling production, and I think that's a great way to dominate the map. But yeah, like, and some people will just do that by default. You know, Raynor did that in some of his games when he knew his opponents were just being really macro heavy. He was just like 5-minute 4th base, and yeah, if you get that up, it's awesome. But for now, that's the main thing. Look at this lava. So you sit on this for a long time, and do we ever get through it all? Let's take a look. Do we ever get back to proper spending? Nope. So you're not even fully saturated on 3 base. You're on 57 workers. You've got 19 lava. So 28 lava. We then build 13 hydras. That's still not all your money. I think it was most of your gas, but you're going into straight hydras here, and we still haven't made a baneling nest. So I think this is because you're playing against mech, but you don't even know that yet, actually. So this is a really weird decision to go straight hydralisks, Because like if there was like a double marine pressure right now, you don't really have anything to fight that. Just a few zerglings and a few queens. Generally speaking, it's like Ling Bane for a while, and then as your second Hydra upgrade's getting close to kicking in, you build Hydras. Because right now you're building 13 Hydras with no upgrades on them. No upgrades. Not only no +1 range, but more importantly, the Hydra Den upgrades. No Hydra Den upgrades equals the worst unit in the game. Hydra is the most overpriced unit in the game until those upgrades kick in 80 hit points, fragile as all hell. It's like barely stronger than a Marine, and costs 3 times as much as a Marine. So it's really, really weak. So don't be doing the lazy... People like to build Hydras because they shut down drops and libs and they kind of do a bit of everything. But we shouldn't be relying on Hydras because they're just not going to actually defend Marines very efficiently. Always Ling Bane first, Hydras as support. Obviously, you can swap into heavier Hydras versus mech a bit later on, but your default should be Ling Bane into Hydras later on when at least one of their upgrades is finished, and by the time they're all popping out, the other ones should be getting closer to finished.
Cool.
Awesome. So the production cycles are the big problem there, but you spread creep very well. That is awesome. Your upgrade continuation, very good. Though we do forget to queue the second Hydra upgrade, so there's a slight delay on it. Luckily, you remember it. The Baneling Nest being so slow is a huge bummer for your attack timings. So overall, what can we say? A+ on creep spread. A+ on your opening up to 5 minutes. The big game changer is keeping your macro cycles beyond that point, right? In the midst of the transition of putting those buildings down, not stressing over the exact moment your buildings go down, stressing over keeping your macro cycles going and adding the buildings in between them. That's the more important thing there. And that's why I'm always happy for a player to have very late tech with a low gas heavy mineral build, as long as they keep their production cycles going, because then they end up with such an abundance of first drones, then zerglings, that they just can defend things simply with raw zergling numbers, which is kind of awesome. And it just generally means that you're getting your machine well oiled. And that works so well with this creep spread that you've done such a good job of putting all over the map. I love that you're splitting your army up later on. This is awesome. And a hot tip, Zerglings are actually amazing. Unless they're heavy on Hellions, if they're on heavy tank, Mass Hydra Bane is not actually the most effective against it. The Banelings are really good versus Hellbat Cyclones and things and clearing through them. Good at killing planetaries and SCVs. That you watched Raynor Maru, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we saw what happened in those first games. If you just keep making Mass Baneling Lurker and running it into Mass Siege Tank, it's really bad. And there was moments like in that Death Aura game where he finally built like 50 Zerglings and ran in and killed like 10 Siege Tanks. And it was like, finally, it took him a while, but once he stopped just making masses of Banelings in these big blobs, he started killing lots of stuff with like, such cheap units. Not something you want to rely upon against mech, Mass Zergling, but definitely having some Lings in the mix can be really nice. Overall, you're just swamping him. Could we have taken it earlier 5th? Yes. Could we have transferred drones? Well, it looks like you did an okay job of transferring drones. We could have transferred them out of your 3rd into your 4th. If we wanted to get really wasteful, we could have built another big round of another maybe 10 drones to go into the 80s. But I think just focusing on better engagements would be a little better probably, as you do start getting a little bit wasteful here. You leave your Overseers at each base. So what's with the Overseer at each base? Is that for Widow Mine drops?
Yeah, just kind of like definitely excessive, but yeah, something for Widow Mines.
Spork is way better. It shoots the medevac. It's cheaper as well. For
sure.
So yeah, for sure. The Overseer is just a waste of money. So it's like this is unnecessarily complicated, the amount of APM you put into that, and you put that into it while you were floating a shitload of money as well. So this was you were floating 2,000 minerals, and you were like, let's make 6 Overseers. You also made them one at a time, which was really weird there. So this confused me. Look at this. Look at what you've done. 1, 2. You're clicking them individually and pressing Overseer. What the hell?
I think probably it's because I was sending this to each base, and I'm not very comfortable with the shift deselect thing, which I probably should have done. Like just build 4 right away, send them shifty selection, send them.
Yeah, you absolutely should have just yes.
Yeah, so that is something that I have to work on. I'm just not good with that technique.
Well, this is such an unnecessarily complicated thing because and then you're going to reselect them and put them on pervert mode later individually at each base. This is such a waste of time. This is huge. Like, this is such a waste of time when you could have been spending your money. And he hasn't even shown Widowmine drops yet. So you don't even need to worry about like if someone Widowmine drops you, build a spore and a spine in each base. Build extra drones because you're taking damage to those Widowmine drops as they happen, and you'll be fine. That's it. Don't overcomplicate it. That's a ridiculous waste of APM there. Spore and spine in each base if they Widowmine drop. But that's it. Don't worry about anything else. Always bring overseers with your army. So you had 2 at this point, but later on you forget after your army dies a few times.
Yeah.
So I think definitely you could have, you were doing some good little multi-prong and stuff. This was kind of nice. So with this fight on the south, I'm not sure if you were looking at it. Let's take a look. I don't think we were. Okay, so we A-move the top. We also A-move the bottom. I'm on your camera. Okay, you're looking at the bottom. So bonus points here would have been if we'd control-clicked those banelings into the mineral line and let our Hydras go for the tanks. Anytime you're going for this sort of push forward, it's always if you're making that many banelings, just go straight for the mineral line and click on the planetary once they're inside the mineral line, so you kill all the SCVs as well. Your Hydras will easily kill the tanks. We could have finished the game right here, and that would have been really nice if we did that.
Okay.
Yeah, you do end up winning the game, obviously, but let's see. Why does this go for another 4 minutes? So we're surrounding with Zerglings, Hydras. I mean, we're getting excited here. We haven't really been hitting our injects quite as well as we'd like to. And plus, we're building Ling Bane, right? So, and we never got a macro hatch. So we're a little lava starved, low on Hydras. So we should be building Hydras right now. We've got 21 lava. We're building an infestation pit. We're still taking fights excitedly. It's okay if you're taking good fights, which you kind of are. It's like, oh, okay, we're taking some sloppy fights. Our production's not great. Finally rebuild those Hydras, make some more Banes, and now we're building more Zerglings because we want more Banelings to go with this. We've got some Overseers in there, which is good. Micro on the Overseers, I was about to say, I'm hoping we don't just run those into the Widow Mines. Well done. Beautiful. Awesome. None of these situations required any finesse from you because of the situation you put yourself in. So if we were in a harder situation, I'd be like, we should have done this, this, this. When you've got the numbers like this, the most important thing is to just smash them in the face and do it quickly and decisively, which is what you did. So this was all really good engagements because of the situations you were in. We may have needed a bit more finesse. So we haven't gotten to see how you would have dealt with if he, got behind some walls and some nicer positions and this or that. But for the situations, you did all right. How did we end up losing that army? What? Oh, my Lord. These Widow Mines, man, causing you trouble. Oh, this is kind of funny. He's just hanging on there, man. Okay. So in the midst of all that, just 1 or 2 more water breaks to take a hatchery and build 10 drones because you were taking gases and stuff. Notice your drone count's only 67. So especially against like mech, and if you're just swarming them like that, try to make sure you stay up in the mid 70 of drones, okay? Just like, squeeze out a round of drones in the midst of it if you have to. Make sure you keep main-arting workers. See your main base has a few. Other than that, I think you did a pretty good job of moving those drones. It feels like you don't have as many as you should. I'm looking around. Am I missing some drones? I guess it's just we have, 7 plus 3, so 10 in the main base. So I guess if you put those 10 on the minerals on the bottom, that's 1 full mineral line, half a mineral line, a full mineral line. Yeah, okay, that would make sense. Yeah, it's just those 10 drones in the main need to be moved, and then your mineral income becomes healthy again. Overall, pretty good play. Just swarming him with superior macro, which is, the fact that you split your army up, it's always going to give you opportunities unless they're exceptionally good at defending. So that was really well done. And, if the game went on a bit, you could have always just been a little more patient. If he spreads his army to defend all of his bases, you can regroup and just hammer one base, right? If he spread his army, you could easily have just had your army come from here and here at the same time onto this top base. Big wide open area, big surround. You're only fighting 1/3 of his army. You're probably going to bust through. So, yeah, there was plenty of opportunities if he made your life harder than it was. But overall, pretty damn good play. And I think we found really big power points in that replay.
Yeah,
In
for
terms
sure.
of
It was funny. I
production.
watched this before, and I was like, "Wow, I feel like I'm doing really good." And then it's you just point out everything I'm doing wrong. I was like, "Oh my god." It's like, Terran, right? But this one, I mean, it's good identifying the things that I need to work on, even though I still feel good. I feel like that's better than.
Your creep was awesome. Like, your creep was dominating in that game. So that was friggin' awesome, man. Like, probably a little too much creep, for where the other things are. Like, it's kind of like if you were a little more, if your creep suffers for you being a little bit more organized at finishing saturating your 3 bases early and getting like the Baneling Nest going and the 4th base a bit faster, maybe the Macro Hatch or whatever. Say your creep suffers for a minute there, but then you get up to that point where you're like, well, I've got my 4 bases up and I've got my 70 workers. Like, and then your creep can explode a bit more. It's just like a little bit of a reprioritizing, which is a lot of what improving our StarCraft is, right? It's like, hey, your creep initially was really good, but right at the 5 minute to 6 minute mark, when you've got a shitload of stuff to do, it really is like the least important thing compared to like all the other stuff that you've got to do in your base. So, if we're floating 2k minerals and 18 lava, spreading a few tumors is like the last thing we should be worrying about. Is it a great habit you've built? Yes. Does it need to completely suffer? Is it always a trade-off? Not necessarily. It's like a very slight reprioritization. So that's really powerful. Do we have another replay we can look at? Because we didn't start the call until we've got eight minutes left. Let's quickly look through another replay. And as we sorry, I got to make you the leader, don't I? Give you the crown back. Think of any questions that pop into your head, because I know that was a lot of me just blitzing through it. But just make me the party lead, the lobby host, and are there any ZvT questions popping into your head as we talk about this? Sorry, I know we haven't had a chance to look at ZVP just yet.
No worries. Nothing specifically. This one I titled Fist Pump Victory, so it felt like I had to work a little harder for this one.
Fuck yeah, awesome.
So
bit of grit, bit of determination. So first thing we'll look at is, did you double check your, let's double check, did you have the same issues as last game? If so, that's good, because it means it's easy to fix. It means it's consistent. Consistent mistakes easier to fix than inconsistent ones. So, and I think you're a pretty organized dude, so I think there's a good chance there'll be a pattern emerging there. So let's go to the 5 minute mark and check what happens with our money, our injects, our lava, all that stuff. Was this a bio game or a mech game? Looks like bio.
I forget. This was a little while ago.
No worries. Another tank bunker opening. People playing safe. Someone's done a guide with tanks and bunkers, I guess. Cool. Yeah. So 6 minutes, 1,600 minerals. Yeah, it's consistent.
Yeah. Like I said, I've figured out like the first 5 minutes to a T, and like when I do it in AI and there's nothing else going on, like it's cool to see like how well I can spend there. But basically until 5 minutes, then I don't have anything figured out, because especially in ZvT, I'm expecting to be harassed by them, even well before sometimes. But yeah, it's because I have no idea what to do really, which kind of goes back to one of the things that we talked about earlier, is like, if I don't know what to do, then I definitely freeze up. So rehearsing the responses, or even just the initial build, is what I've been practicing.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's so much you can do with that here at this 5 minute mark. Honestly, the initial build is still what you're failing at in these 2 games, because you're doing so well with it, but there is a precise point. It's right here as you saturate 3 base slightly earlier in this game. But check it out. It's always the same thing as last game. It's when you go to 48, 50 drones and then you just freeze.
Yeah.
So check this out. 12 lava. What are we doing? Like, I'm watching on your camera in real time. It's the moment when you start thinking, I gotta get my evos down. It's 4 minutes 50, 4 minutes 40, whatever. I don't know what the timer is for your evos. What in your mind are you thinking? Is it your gas you look at for the evos?
Yeah, I figured out if you put the 2 evos down when you have about 180 gas on one extractor, then they will finish when you have 250.
Stop staring at your evos. You need a more organic timer. So this is something I do as well, a more organic timer. So stop staring at your gas for your evos. So this is really important, because you're going, oh, this is the optimal time. So you're looking at one thing with ultimate precision at the cost of other things. It has to be saturate your bases. Saturate your bases instead. So I'm writing it here as a subpoint in your document. Saturate your bases in between. So right after a macro cycle, same thing I said before. That's it. Reset rally points, add gases, add evos. But it's got to be after that. So like this game, I could even see the evos went down before your gases even, because that's what leads you. That's what's leading you by the nose, is you so want to start 1-1 at 250 gas, which it feels so good. But let us get closer and closer to that while spending our lava, and you will be such a better player, because you're spending your lava so well up to that point. That's the break point. And I love that it's consistent across these two games. Same shit we saw in the last game. The only thing I want to reiterate there is reset the rally points. You didn't do it this game either. And I can see you build 3 drones, click them on a gas, build 3 drones. You're scrolling around, spending a lot of time building 3 drones, running them around. You're wasting too much APM doing that. Whereas even if our gases sit there unsaturated and all our 3 mineral lines are oversaturated, and we come back 30 seconds later, then put guys on gas because we're busy doing something, I don't care. But it's just that we're not producing properly there is the problem, right? And then when you're floating over 1,000 minerals, same thing we said in the last game. Macro hatcheries. Always, 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 right? So macro, over 1,000 minerals after a cycle. After a cycle. So after we spend our lava, what do? 2 macro hatcheries. If we do that every game, it's going to make your life so much easier. So that aside, we know you have a pretty good upgrade progression and stuff from then on normally. Once again, we forgot Baneling speed. So that happened last game where we completely forgot the Baneling nest. Bane speed forgotten. So that is a pattern at this point. Your Hydra Den's a lot slower this game, so I really like that you've got a lot more Ling Bane, but you didn't finish saturating your 3 bases this game either. So remember last game you sat on about 60 workers, 58 for a while. This game 59. So that's a little bit of a habit we see now, where your main and your third are both undersaturated. Cool. That doesn't really matter in terms of like your engagements will still be what decides you. What scares me is you're running around with Ling Bane and you still haven't realized you haven't started Bane speed. And you're going to attack without Bane speed, which is just the biggest of no-nos. Could you just win? Maybe, but oof. What are we doing here? Ow. Why? No. That's what I call chucking a Zerg. I've done it many times before. It's where you go, hey, I built some stuff. Let's headbutt it into the dark fog of war that I have done no scouting into since earlier in this game. I have no idea what awaits me. My upgrades are not timed out, but now I shall thrust. And in this moment, I shall throw my army away and gift the Terran many thousands of resources for losing almost nothing. Just don't do random Ling Bane. Killing that base and running away would have been awesome. The fact you saw the base and chose to attack was great. But continuing to attack that, just absolute nonsense. If you had Bane speed and like 1-1 had just kicked in, sure, maybe you've got a timing. But you're also not really producing behind it. So check this out. You push his army back and systematically, structurally, you make a bad decision. This is not off the cuff. You do build Zerglings. Oh, actually, you do an inject cycle. Okay, I wasn't on your camera before. Well fucking done. Never mind. I was about to shit on you for not doing a macro cycle while moving across the map. Well done. That was awesome. Yeah, if you just pulled back there, that would have been great, dude. Pull back.
Yeah, it's usually engagements as well, especially against Terran. It's so easy to throw.
Yeah, I mean, that's a point where you've got such good creep spread. Kill it. Put a Ling there. Put your Lings across your bases. You've already got one on the right. And then just spread out. Get your upgrades. Wait for him to come to you, Oh, now I'm at 180 supply of Hydra Bane. I split it in 2 armies. If you did that and then you attacked from the left and the right at the same time with Hydra Bane, I'd be down with it. It's just looking at the pieces you had, it made no sense for you to push there. There was no push to you. And you still have not got Bane speed on the way. So you're still massing Banelings and you haven't realized. So that's a huge pattern, which is going to be rectified. A huge pattern. Now, check out something else. Let's see. Okay, this time you double queued Hydra upgrades. Very good. Very good.
Is that normally what you would? I mean, especially if you have a bank, it's not really a big deal just to start them both right away.
I was going to say you should do that because you didn't do it in the previous game. Most pro gamers even do that. They're pretty cheap upgrades, and it's just like such a bummer if you forget one, man, because it's so easy to forget.
Might as well.
Well, it costs you nothing if you've got bank anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, you're doing all right here. Definitely, Our army is on very, like, just the fact that there's no Bane speed just basically makes this a Hydra Zergling army, though. The Banelings are just so cost inefficient. So this is just, to me, it's crazy that we haven't realized. Like, how have you not realized that you don't have Bane speed, do you think? Do you think this is common, or... Because, like, you're looking at these engagements, but you're clearly not processing what's happening with the Banelings. So I don't know if you were just super adrenaline pumped or what.
Probably.
It happens.
Yeah.
Because Bane speed's such an obvious one. That's why I'm like, what? There we go. We've got it. Oh, it's finally 13 minutes in. Yeah. It was when you split your army up. It was when you split your army up. I think you took a breath there. You kind of went, okay, let's split the army up. You know, we're not doing that much with one army anymore. And suddenly you're like, oh, let's start Bane speed. You cancel a base in the left. You've got an army there. See, this is so good. The moment you split your Hydra Bane up, dude, this is great. This is awesome. This is so good. Now, unfortunately, we're going to get cornered on the left, which is very expensive, but we're going to run in on the right. So was that army expensive on the left? Yes. Did that suck? Yeah, but we'd already killed the planetary and a lot of SCVs. So it's kind of all right because you're ruining his economy and your economy is intact. It's important at these moments. What did we talk about in the last game? Take a breather. Take a water break. What's a water break? Remember what we said? Don't attack your hive, which we accidentally did just then. It's transfer drones and build another round of drones. In this game, you never got really to 75 workers. But if you were to build like 15 workers right now to saturate this bottom right base, this would give you so much renewability. I, in your situation, would probably go 85 workers. I think for you, 75 is perfect. I think that's the magic number. If we happen to go slightly over, that's okay. Slightly under, slightly over. But I think 75 is perfect because it just gives you a bit more renewability. And we see those drones coming out now for this base. Do we have any workers to transfer? We don't. Oh, we're so low on workers. Yeah, we need another 10. Another 10 on top of that. Your mineral bank's so low. So this is a game where suddenly your next few engagements actually really matter. Where I thought you were going to have a really easy time from here. But now it's kind of dangerous moment in this game where if he manages to take a really good fight, then you're screwed. That being said, he's on your side of the map with a blob of bio that's about to get absolutely wrecked. Oh, we didn't surround it though. So we actually should have been able to surround that, I think, there. We could have kind of moved our army around it a little better. And now oh no, we blobbed our army. It was so well split before. Keep doing what you were doing. Split your army up. Don't do this. You were doing so good with the splits. I think you've got enough to win anyway. But if you kept splitting, even better victory, right? Because you would have killed both bases right now and then come in from both sides. And that would have been absolute game winner. Honestly, the fact that you've built a system around splitting your Hydra Bane gets me excited, dude. Makes me feel really good. This looks awesome.
Cheers.
So
that always feels good. This session definitely felt a little more like it was illuminating things that I wasn't doing right. Hear something, especially right before the end.
Split the Hydra Bane. Split the Hydra Bane. So don't ever do nonsense-ling Bane attacks again like that. You can cancel a base. You could poke in and be like, oh, he doesn't have anything. Let's go. My changelings see that he's unprepared. But otherwise, I love that it's like once you get to like 150 plus supply, split your Hydra Bane into and get really active. And you're doing a really good job of that. And that's very hard for Terran players to deal with. And if he's really well prepared on one side, pull that side back, push in with the other side. He goes to respond to that. Swap. Just keep swapping that. Swapping. Go in one side, pull back the other side. Or in a game like this, where you're dominating, push it on both sides and win both sides and fuck him up. I don't know how I feel about the muta swap. Good way to annoy your opponent and be a dickhead, just as long as you don't build any more than those 9 mutas and you're happy to lose them and never build any more. As long as it's like one little wave of annoyance and no more commitment than that, it's okay.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's what I was going for with those mutas, but this was a while ago, so I can't say for sure. But that's a good point to remember.
Dude, your creep spread's dominating. It's giving you such a good launch pad. It's slowing down your opponent's attacks. It's setting you up to be ready for pushes. Awesome play. Yeah. We have figured out the PowerPoint that will totally change your Zerg versus Terran. And it's all about that part of the build, which I want you to practice in it. I don't normally encourage it because I know I'm going to do a lot of hardcore build practice guy. And I'm like, get on the ladder, play more ladder games. For other people.
You're right. I mean, that's what I have to do because it's so different on the ladder. And, when I am playing against AI, it's fine for 6 minutes. But even as we saw in the first game, I didn't get harassed. And you know, after 3 minutes, it starts to fall apart. So I definitely do just have to play more ladder. I also think, because I've literally won 15 of my last 16 games. So I think I have to level up a little bit more, get some harder opponents. Or like I said, maybe it's just an upswing, but it feels like I'm kind of walking over some of the opponents sometimes.
Yeah, well, if you, I don't know how your other matchups are doing. There's always one that drags us down at any point, and then we fix it, and then another matchup drags us down. It's always a constant rotation.
Yeah, it was
right?
Protoss, but the 12 pool fixed it. So.
Awesome. Honestly, if you do want to do, if you do 1 or 2 practice in a custom game, all you need is 2 or 3 games max in a custom game. It's that 5-minute thing you need to repeat over and over again. That just about 5 minutes, evos, gases. Just we've got it in the documents. It's written down twice there. That point, and then keep spending your money from there. Keep spending the lava. You're injecting well most of the time. Your lava keeps stacking up. Just keep spending the lava. If you're not sure what to do, just build army units or a mix of half, one or the other. You're 90% of the way there. This little piece there of you spending the money, you're already swarming these guys. You're going to swarm them harder and faster and finish these games quicker. These games we could take 5 minutes off these games, because the first time Bane speed kicks in, both your Hydra upgrades, your 150 supply, you're going to overwhelm them so hard, and it's just going to be like, oh, and that's why. But you will start getting better Terran players, do more things to upset you, more reactions, all that. It's going to be awesome. So it's as always a learning process. But dude, you're on the track. You are on the path. So keep it up. And once again, pleasure to coach with you, mate. So keep going. Let us know how it goes, and I'll catch you next time, dude.
Thanks, Big. Have a great day.
Good night, mate. See you later.
Take care.